Good afternoon, class. This is the overview for the week 4 discussion and an overview of the content that you should be viewing for week 4. There's a couple discussion questions. The first is an argument for or against copyright protection. This is directly relevant to the second video from Margaret Gould Stewart, and she talks about what YouTube thinks about copyright. I find this an interesting take. I did not realize that when a copyright match or infringement has been detected, it is up to the content owner to determine whether they want that content to proceed or not. And she cited some cases where it was beneficial to the content owner. Sometimes it is not beneficial to the content owner, as outright copying and fraud. So there has to be some evaluation into it. So this is an interesting take. I'd like to know your comments on whether what is copyright protection? Should it be done? Should content providers be protected? And is it possible for them to actually benefit when others copy their work? And if so, how? The second question deals more with companies sharing consumer data and basically selling that data to other companies for profit. And so there's a very good discussion on the curly fry conundrum. And Jennifer Goldbeck goes into algorithms and big data and how this is all coming to pass and what really are those free apps. What are they after? Why is that application free? Do you use any apps that are worth your data? So my personal example, I typically like to use Waze. It is worth it to me to provide my location data to Waze. Waze uses that to help the application to determine what's going on with the traffic. And if you think about it out of context, is it scary? They know where I'm at all times. Well, yes and no. At 6 o'clock on a weekday, it probably understands that I'm on the Washington Beltway between Tyson's Corner and Maryland. Happens every day. It knows I'm there, and I'm with 10,000 of my closest friends. Right? There's traffic. So it depends on what it is that data you're giving up, and it leads to, well, should we have total control over our data and specify what is given and what is not? Well, I'd like a discussion on how many have read the end user license agreement with the applications you use. Do you blindly accept and move on? Do you really read it? And if you object, what can you do about it? Let's discuss that this week. This leads into thoughts about data collection for consumers, and that again with Jennifer Goldbeck talking about Target, and how talking about Target and how certain inferences could be made, certain things that are purchased lead to certain ideas like someone may be pregnant, and is that an invasion of privacy? So when you like I said, when you sign up for that app, you sign up for that card, that convenience card or loyalty program card, all that data is being swiped. Everything you buy is being tied to your account, and profiles are being established about you. This is all about big data and making trends and trying to take trends and drive it towards increased profitability or predictive analysis to see what you're going to buy next. And this is where companies make a lot of money. How is Google, the search engine, how does it make money? It's free. Well, is it? Your search results are fed into algorithms. It knows you. You log into Google. All that's data being collected every time you do a search. And as Andreas Ekstrom said, right? Is there a morality behind the searching that you do, and should there be? That's an extension of last week's discussion. I recommend using a website that doesn't track all your personal data. One that comes to mind is DuckDuckGo.com. Give it a shot. But let's talk about that, and then finally, Tim Berners-Lee, who I don't know if you are familiar with or not, he was credited with the development of the World Wide Web. What is the World Wide Web? Well, there's several protocols that run over the IP protocol, which is the transport of data. It's the standard used to transport data. There are various protocols. One of them is email. That's SMTP. There's file transfer. That's called FTP. There's a thing called Telnet, which allows you to log into other computers across a network. Well, there was a protocol that was developed called HTTP, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and that was run by a browser. So Tim Berners-Lee created the first browser. It was called Mosaic, and it was what kicked off. It was like, if anyone remembers, if you've ever used Windows, which a lot of you do, there was initially there was a program called MS-DOS, and it was all text driven. It was command line driven. You had to type commands in, dir for the directory, and let me get this file, and blah blah blah. Well, Windows came out and it was a graphical user interface, and it took off. Okay, it was easy. You point and click, and that's the interface we have today. You point, click, and things open and do stuff with it. The web was bringing a graphical user interface to the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Simple as that. Took off, and that's where we are today. So anyway, his suggestion of a Magna Carta for the web. Let's put down the philosophy and the rules for how we should do work on the web. Should there be any separate internets like they have in Russia and China? I personally deal with that. We have to provide special handoffs to the Chinese government, the Russian government, if we deploy gear into those countries. And that traffic gets filtered and cleansed, if you will. And that is the law. That's the way it works. Should that even be a play, or should always all be out there? And finally, if we were going to come up with rules and laws and all this, or philosophies, is that going to be commerce driven or altruistically driven? What are your thoughts on that? What's the likely scenario? So it's a good week of discussion. I'd like you to apply. Make sure we watch those videos. I'm looking for you to incorporate those videos into your discussions. Again, I'll be asking questions, and I look forward to the discussion. Thanks.